Hey, my friend, tonight we bid farewell to those blockbuster tales and dive headfirst into the dullest slice of history you've never heard of. You won't make it through the night, trust me. Turn off the lights, switch on the fan to let its gentle hum lull you to sleep. But first, clutch that snake amulet tight. Today, we're unraveling a deceptively simple yet bizarre event. Why did the ancient Malians tremble at the thought of the desert's divine snakes? You'd think they'd just steer clear or light a fire, but no, they crafted snake-shaped amulets to sleep soundly. In the desolate darkness of the Sahel night, there's a legend, not exactly glamorous, but chilling enough to make an entire kingdom quake. The colossal desert snake god, a spectral presence slithering through the sands with every step a traveler takes. It sounds like a superhero saga, but this was just a slice of everyday life for the ancient Malians. Before you drift off, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know where you're tuning in from. Mali, Vietnam, or the cozy confines of your bedroom. Now, let this dreary tale cradle you into a dream, if you're brave enough. Beneath the vast desert sky, where sands stretch like an endless tapestry, the ancient Malians sought solace in soothing shadows. But those shadows hid an unseen terror. By day, under the scorching sun, they scanned the horizon for the faint outlines of withered shrubs, each faded leaf a fleeting sign of life. At night, as the sun slipped below the horizon, temperatures plummeted, and a gentle breeze carried fine sand in ghostly swirls. The scene felt serene, as if nature itself was settling into slumber alongside humanity. But then, a faint hiss, a subtle shift in the sand, and hearts would seize. The desert snake, an invisible predator, was drawing near. In their minds, the desert snake wasn't just a mindless reptile, but a vessel for the mysterious spirit of the divine. Folklore whispered of the Cerastes Carastes, a horned viper like a fallen angel, emerging in swirling sandstorms, a harbinger of the desert's judgment. When the moon climbed high, the snake's scales gleamed like polished silver, each movement hypnotic, flickering in and out of the sea of sand. Every cautious step felt like wandering a hazy labyrinth, unsure which shadow was their own footprint and which was the trace of a serpent coiled across the path. They passed down a chilling tale about an old trader named Amadou. One night, gazing at the starry sky, he froze as a blinding silver streak flashed across the sand. Thinking it was the moon's reflection in the distance, he soon realized it was the massive body of a desert snake sprawled across his path. Amadou couldn't even cry out, paralyzed by the icy, soulless stare. The serpent held him in its gaze for a moment, then slowly coiled and vanished like a dark dream. By morning, all that remained were his sandals and the faint imprint of bare feet in the sand, as if no living soul had ever been there. From that night, fear of snakes seeped into every fiber of not just Amadou, but the entire community. Unlike roaring beasts, desert snakes struck in silence. A single bite, and their venom paralyzed veins, numbing flesh and scattering life's breath. Legends warned that even the boldest warriors couldn't escape nightmares after hearing the faint hiss from a crevice in the sand. Night after night, they tossed in fitful sleep, ears straining for the rustle of shifting sand, dreading that any small movement might be the fragile thread between life and death. In daily life, they devised a system of warnings, long wooden staffs etched with pictographs to mark safe paths, sand-filled gourds tossed high to scout for snake nests, and wooden sandals designed to make strange clacks when treading through fine sand. These measures revealed a constant tension, not just a fight for survival, but a battle against an invisible fear. Each sunset transformed the darkness from mere empty space into the eerie gaze of a terrifying reptile. Amid this collective anxiety, they sought comfort in faith. The desert snake was revered as both fearsome and sacred, a divine entity. Stories claimed that deep within the desert lay hidden springs, known only to the snake gods who could guide water to humanity. A snake's appearance signaled wrath, nature's judgment on those who trespassed sacred lands. Its departure was a blessing, a promise of water revealed to those with humble, reverent hearts. This blend of harsh reality and vivid imagination fueled a profound obsession. Snakes were not mere creatures, but emissaries of the desert. They feared the snake's bite, yet honored its spirit. Many families hung stylized snake drawings on their tent flaps, a silent prayer for safety. Children grew up learning to read the sand's patterns, distinguishing safe routes, their first lesson in survival. The ancient Malians also wove strange, entertaining tales around snakes. On sleepless nights, they gathered to share the chase of the night, a story of a daring youth scouring the desert to capture the snake god, only to discover he'd become the snake in the eyes of the divine. These tales sent shivers down spines while sparking wry laughter. The desert snake god was not only merciless but cunning, outwitting even the slyest desert thieves. This fusion of fear, faith, and everyday language birthed a unique culture. The desert sands were no longer just a deadly expanse, but a grand stage for a drama of fear and illusion. As night winds swept through, sand shimmered like snake scales, and anyone stepping into the desert felt their own smallness before nature's enigma. So, the ancient Malians' fear of snakes stemmed not only from sudden bites or deadly venom, but from a surreal world straddling reality and myth. Each grain of sand was a shattered mirror reflecting collective dread, and every faint hiss in the dark was a tolling bell for the careless. As the sun rose, they returned to the cold sands, tracing their own footprints to prepare for another night facing the desert snake's shadow. In that quiet expanse, fear never slept. It lingered like an uninvited companion, ever ready to ignite the eerie glow of silver scales under the moon's gaze. As the desert night unfurls its veil, stars begin to twinkle like gleaming eyes, watching the fleeting lives below. The ancient Malians didn't just see an infinite sky stretching wide. They sensed a supernatural realm concealed within the fine grains of sand. Over time, the desert snake ceased to be merely a perilous reptile. It was woven into myth, spirits of the desert, wielding the power to bless and the duty to punish sin. Legends tell of a primordial era when the desert cradled hidden springs, life-giving oases amid a parched sea of sand. The first mystical tale speaks of Eri, the serpent deity, a colossal snake with scales that shimmered like crystal. Eri wasn't an ordinary serpent, but was envisioned with blazing emerald eyes piercing the night, its massive body coiling around the earth, guarding every precious drop of water. They believed only those who approached with humility and heartfelt prayers would be guided by Eri to the water buried deep beneath the sands. During grand ceremonies, the community gathered around a dry well, the village's highest point. The entire village fell silent, save for the occasional clink of the horn pendant dangling from an elder's neck. A shaman stood at the circle's center, clutching a hawk's eggshell, lips pressed to a reed pipe soaked in sage oil, chanting Eri's name with fervent devotion. Women knelt, placing small bowls of fine sand dyed pink like dawn upon the ground, offerings to the divine. No counting, no songs, just a solemn stillness so profound that everyone could feel a supernatural current swirling around them. As the ritual ended, a gentle breeze scattered the sand, carrying their prayers skyward like delicate saucers for the gods to savor. The tale continues with the night rain fell for the first time after years of drought. The villagers had nearly lost hope, their hearts as cracked as the parched earth. But as a sandstorm whipped through, the sky suddenly tore open, and the first droplets pattered onto the sand, sparking life anew. They glimpsed the silhouette of the serpent god weaving through the gusts, vanishing as the rain ceased. From then on, the village believed that if their collective sins grew too heavy, the snake god would judge them with endless drought. But if they repented sincerely, it would grant redeeming rain. Every Malian family taught their children from a young age that a pure heart brought fortune, while misdeeds, like stealing food or desecrating ancestral graves, would cause the great granite stone in the desert's heart to rumble, signaling Eri's wrath. They spoke of a thief who stole grain and faced the snake god's judgment. His body turned to sandy scales, dissolving into the earth, leaving a haunting black void that lingered as a warning for generations. This scene became an eternal lesson. Never take from nature more than what is needed. The people didn't just fear Eri, but revered dozens of lesser snake spirits tied to specific places. Every cave, every dune held its own serpent soul. Village children were taught never to step on steep sand slopes, for beneath them lay the lair of Zali, a minor snake god guarding crumbling stones. Disturb Zali, and it would haunt your dreams, waking you with the terror of sand pouring through your nostrils, your heart pounding in the dead of night. This belief ran so deep that the Malians built small sand pyramids around their tents, upside-down cones symbolizing sealed venom, barring snakes from slithering in. They draped red cloth strips around their tents, the color of sand at sunset's glow, believing the red hue warned serpent spirits to steer clear of those sleeping beneath. As night deepened, they lit torches fueled by flaxseed oil, their flickering flames mimicking the snake god's eyes, lighting the path home and letting the village rest easy. The worship of snake gods seeped into their art. On the handles of grinding stones, every carved swirl depicted the Cerastes coiled, head raised high. On bronze mirrors, they etched glistening snake eyes to peer into the souls of those who gazed. Every detail, from cups to door frames, bore the mark of the snake god, a reminder that life in the desert was inseparable from these mythical reptiles. Villagers shared thought-provoking questions. If Eri truly embodies nature's power, why doesn't it appear in human form? Is it because the snake god keeps its distance, preventing humans from exploiting its power for greed? Each question slipped into listeners' minds like fine sand, urging them to answer with humility and reverence. On mysterious evenings, the dry wail of horns echoed from sandy hills. No one knew who started the tune, but they believed it summoned the snake gods to the ceremony, so the emerald-eyed deity could witness human devotion. Women's clothing bore snake symbols, as if carrying personal talismans at all times. From the worship of snake gods, the Malians learned a vital lesson: respect nature, live in harmony, and never overstep its bounds. The desert spirits weren't enemies to destroy, but guardians deserving gratitude. Stories of Airi and Zali didn't just tighten hearts as night fell. They reminded dreamers in the desert's gentle slumber that the world still held vast mysteries. Sometimes, fear itself became the spark for faith and hope. In the harsh life of the Mali desert, where nightfall cloaks the land and the day's scorching heat sears like a furnace, the simplest objects become lifelines for survival. Among them, the snake amulet, known as Tanha in the local tongue, stands as an inseparable companion for every family. They don't see it as mere superstitious jewelry, but as a symbol of wisdom, an understanding of nature, and humility before the might of the snake gods. The snake amulet is crafted with meticulous care from 3 main materials: dried snake skin, golden scale beads, and powdered animal bone. The skin, typically from the cerastes, is sun-dried under blistering rays for 3 days, just enough to harden the scales while preserving the faint natural oil on the surface. Then, artisans use a fine blade to carve delicate curving lines mimicking the snake's scales, peeling each piece with the precision of a weaver stitching a tapestry. The finished snake skin is sleek and glossy, carrying a salty scent. When it brushes against human skin, it feels strangely cool, like stumbling upon an underground spring in a scorched sandfield. The golden scale beads aren't the glittering industrial kind, but are handcrafted from the shells of wild hawk eggs. Villagers collect the shells after fledglings leave the nest, grinding them in stone mortars, separating the thin metallic sheen and mixing it with plant resin for adhesion. Each bead glows golden, arranged in spirals or dragon eye patterns, symbolizing the sacred scales where the snake's spirit resides. The women of the family, after stitching the skin segments, affix these beads along the edges to amplify the amulet's spiritual power. The bowl of powdered animal bone is the final, most enigmatic component. The animals, often tribal totems like mountain goats or desert antelopes, are cremated after dying of old age, their bones reduced to fine ash and blended with pungent medicinal herbs. This bone powder is believed to hold the essence of life, linking humans to nature and making the gods heed their pleas. The powder is stored in a small ceramic bowl etched with snake eyes, tucked beneath the skin before it's sewn shut. When complete, the snake amulet resembles a broad, oversized claw measuring 10 to 12 centimeters long. With its dominant ivory-white hue laced with the golden glint of beads, the amulet exudes a rustic yet solemn beauty. People wear it around their necks, threading thick buffalo leather through pre-drilled holes, or tie it to their pillows to sleep with 2 amulets pressed close to their throats. You might chuckle imagining a tiny sand-swept tent, a humble shack looking like a desert rat's nest, with 2 massive claw-like amulets tied to the headrest, poised as if ready to leap. At first, many Malian youths found the snake amulet a bit old-fashioned, like a hipster sporting a real leather wallet in a city. But over time, just one night without tying it on left their hearts racing, cold sweat soaking their backs as they heard the sand rustle outside. Only when they slipped it back on, feeling it graze their skin and inhaling the distinct snakeskin scent, could they nod with relief. All's well, Ares watching. The amulet's purpose extends beyond sleep. During the day, families carry it while foraging for dry roots or seeking water. When crossing sand where snakes might lurk, they tap their feet lightly, letting the amulet brush against their clothes, producing a soft, clinking sound, enough to warn creatures beneath the sand that someone's coming. The sound isn't jarring like an alarm bell, but akin to a clock's tick, whispering, "Now, be careful." Children as young as 6 or 7 are given snake amulets in a simpler ritual. Their mothers wrap a tiny skin piece around their necks, murmuring a vague chant about the desert. The kids treat the amulet like a powerful toy, climbing trees or romping on porches without fear of snakes slithering up their legs. Over time, this belief seeps into their very being, becoming a cultural thread preserved across generations. Each afternoon, as children play by the well, adults gather around the hearth, chatting about the village amulet maker who just finished a new batch. The scent of sage incense mingles with the aroma of snakeskin and bone powder, creating a mystical atmosphere. Everyone whispers softly, "Drought's coming early this year. May Ares show mercy." Then they touch the amulet to their foreheads, a gesture of prayer for peace. On the path to fetch water, villagers pass towering dunes, planting wooden stakes to mark the safest routes. Each stake is tied with a smaller amulet, signaling to strangers, "This path Ares has blessed." When foreign traders pass through, they buy 1 or 2 amulets as keepsakes. The visitors take them home, hanging them in living rooms, sparking curiosity among guests who ask about their purpose. The host smiles faintly. "Don't worry, the snake god doesn't bite the honest." Elders safeguard ancient amulet sets, their skins faded and beads worn. These are stored reverently in wooden chests alongside antique pottery, cherished as heirlooms. When passing down the craft to younger generations, the village elder warns, "Our descendants must preserve these, never discard an amulet carelessly, lest the snake god grows sorrowful." The words carry a deeper reminder: respect nature, and don't anger the spirits with human negligence. Even today, as electricity reaches every corner of the village, the youth still love wearing snake amulets. They pair them with modern outfits, creating a unique desert punk style. The amulets are crafted with greater finesse, adorned with copper pieces etched with Latin letters dubbed Mali 1.0, and sold on social media. At a glance, they seem like fashion accessories, but beneath lies a 1,000-year-old belief that refuses to fade. At night, as people gather around the central fire, sharing tales of the desert and snake amulets, the flickering flames illuminate attentive faces. Beyond, in the silent sands, the distant wind hums past tent walls, like the faint quiver of a snake's skin. Someone gently touches the amulet at their neck, smiling as if to say, "Everything will be fine. Ares watching." Crafting a snake amulet is no simple task. It's a series of rituals demanding meticulous care and absolute reverence. As the sun sets and darkness gradually envelops the village's humble thatched roofs, the village elder, the shaman, and the folk healer gather in the central courtyard. They spread a mat woven from desert grass across the earth, arranging the materials around it: dried snakeskin, golden scale beads glowing like dawn's light, and a bowl of pristine white animal bone powder. The air is so still that every faint breeze carries the scent of dry sand and the subtle waft of sage incense. First, the village elder, who presides over the ceremony, scatters a fine layer of white salt in a spiral pattern across the mat. The spiral symbolizes the desert's cycle, from blazing sand to rare rain, then back to sand again. Each grain of salt falls lightly, producing a soft, ticking sound, like the heartbeat of the earth. The elder's eyes half close, lips murmuring an ancient chant, beseeching the spirit of the desert to manifest and bear witness to the village's devotion. Next, the folk healer, keeper of knowledge about herbs and animal bones, leans forward to scoop bone powder from a small ceramic bowl, blowing gently to create a thin veil of smoky dust. The smoke rises in uneven swirls, spreading to every corner of the courtyard like an invisible hand weaving through the sacred space. The golden scale beads, wiped briefly with an herbal cloth, are arranged by the healer in neat rows around the salt spiral. Each bead gleams like a tiny star, radiant in the flicker of a small hearth fire. The shaman, tasked with bridging the tangible and spiritual worlds, takes a wooden stick etched with ancestral symbols and presses it against the dried snakeskin. They trace curving, sinuous lines resembling snake scales, imbued with the power to summon and bind. Each stroke follows the rule of outside to inside, channeling sacred energy toward the amulet's core. These marks on the skin aren't mere drawings, but an invitation for the snake god Ares' spirit to converge, ready to inhabit the amulet. Once the skin bears its symbols, the elder ladles a scoop of chilled spring water, sourced from a distant mountain crevice, and sprinkles it lightly over the skin. The water's trickle across the surface creates a sound like the desert's breath, infusing the air with a lively mystique. They believe this water is the lifeblood of Mother Earth, awakening the amulet's latent spiritual power. The faint light of a crescent moon pierces the thatched roof, making each water droplet on the skin shimmer like a silver pearl. The most crucial moment arrives: the ritual of exposing the amulet to the crescent moon. The three, elder, shaman, and healer, each place a hand on a corner of the skin, close their eyes, and envision the snake god weaving through a whirlwind. In unison, they chant, "Eri, spirit of the desert, come forth and dwell within this amulet. Shield the sleep of those who wear it. Guard every breath in the dark." Their voices blend with the rustle of swaying grass, forming an invisible chorus echoing across the sandy expanse. The snake skin is then stretched across a small wooden frame, like a canvas for a painting. They place the frame atop a pile of pre-charred dry shrubs, where lingering embers regulate the skin's moisture to prevent it from hardening too quickly. The flickering embers cast shadows, making the figures and amulet sway, transforming the scene into something eerie, like a dream caught between waking and sleep. The elder draws dots of herbal powder around the frame, marking the 4 directions: east, west, south, north. Each corresponds to a different desert wind, ensuring the amulet can withstand any condition: drought, sandstorm, or silent night. These mud and leaf-stained dots, not only adorn the amulet, but serve as divine eyes, warding off evil spirits during the drying process. For 3 consecutive nights, the amulet is left exposed, caressed by desert winds slipping through leaves and curling in restless gusts. Each morning, as dew clings to nearby foliage, the shaman extinguishes the embers. The elder tests the skin's dryness, and the healer checks if the bone powder's scent lingers. Only when the skin is evenly dried, uncracked, and the beads gleam with vibrant gold do they deem the amulet ripe for use. Before the final stage, the elder performs the spirit-calling ritual. They light an extra stick of agarwood incense, arranging them in a circle around the frame, then ignite a 9th stick, the sacred number in their beliefs. The incense smoke swirls around the frame as if embracing the amulet, and those nearby feel an odd warmth soothing the night's chill. In that moment, the final chant rises. Ari has heard, has witnessed, and accepts this amulet. Watch over our sleep. Guard every breath. As the smoke dissipates, the 3 carry the framed amulet back to the ceremonial tent. They place it in a carved wooden box adorned with snake motifs, sealed with beeswax and a small snakeskin fragment. Only when handing the amulet to its wearer does the elder break the wax, preserving the craft's secrets and power. Each box bears the owner's name, the crafting date, and advice. Wear it close to your collarbone. Avoid tangling when fleeing real snakes. The amulet is finally delivered to its family. They receive it with reverence, placing it on a small altar, rubbing it with hands dipped in sacred spring water, then wearing it around their neck or tying it firmly to their pillow. The raw scent of snakeskin wafts forth, sending shivers down anyone who breathes it, a reminder of the supernatural power within. From then on, the snake amulet is more than a daily object. It's a testament to the bond between the community, nature, and the spiritual realm. Every step of its creation, from carving symbols and soaking in spring water to moonlit drying, is a spiritual journey, deepening the Malians' appreciation for reverence, faith, and humility before unseen forces. As you close your eyes, picture each step they take. The glowing incense, the echoing chants, and the snake amulet shimmering silver, ready to guard the peaceful sleep of anyone daring to believe in the desert's ancient tales. Nia grew up amid the vast dunes and harsh sun of the Mali Desert. Her daily gear was simple: a crossbody cloth bag holding a few dry millet cakes, a leather water flask, and a small knife for digging wild roots. Her bare feet left imprints in the fine sand, sweat soaking her skin with each step, yet she never complained. Born into a family of hunter-gatherers, Nia learned to cherish and respect every creature, no matter how small. She never imagined her life would change just because of one night wearing a snake amulet for the first time. That afternoon, after harvesting a few dry cola roots, Nia followed an old trail through a dune near a rocky cave where thorny shrubs clustered. A gentle desert breeze stirred, carrying fine dust that glimmered in the fading sunset. As she bent to dig a larger-than-usual root, a rustling sound came from the shrub's base, a noise anyone living on the desert's edge would recognize as swiftly as the panting of a predator. Nia froze, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The sand beneath her feet quivered faintly, a sign of an unseen enemy lying in wait. Her knife slipped from the bag, gripped tightly, her legs tensed, ready to flee. A snake's silhouette flickered, its body tracing a sinuous line in the sand, horns on its head bobbing like tiny antennae. Naya hesitated, suppressing her breath, eyes tracking its every move. The cerastes coiled silently, poised to strike at any moment. Her pile of roots tumbled, their echo across the sandy plain like a warning bell. One wrong move, and venom would surge through her veins, paralyzing her body, leaving only a silent death in the tranquil expanse. She dropped the knife, sat on the ground, and placed her hand on the shrub's rough bark. Time seemed to halt, leaving only the whisper of wind teasing the sand. Nia closed her eyes, her face glowing with resolve. She wasn't afraid, but felt a strange harmony with the predator mere inches away. It didn't lunge, almost as if it were waiting. Village tales claimed that sometimes the snake god Irie appeared to choose the humble, those who restrained their blades and understood the desert's thirst for water. Nia, with her sincere heart and reverence for nature, had stayed the snake's attack. As the sky darkened, the cerastes slithered into the sand, vanishing from sight. Nia stood, wiping sweat from her brow, her gaze lingering toward the cave where shadows twisted. She returned to the village with a mix of shock and excitement. Rumors swirled about the speckled marks by the shrub where she sat, perhaps tracks of a giant snake or just crumbled sand. The village buzzed with talk, but Nia knew she'd experienced something extraordinary, marking the start of a new journey. Night fell, and Naya entered her small tent, leaving the lamp unlit, letting the oil lantern's firefly glow flicker. The village elder waited, holding a newly crafted snake amulet, dried snake skin tinted ashen gold, interwoven with shimmering scale beads like starlight, and a small ceramic bowl etched with snake scales holding bone powder. The elder's warm voice guided her to place the amulet around her neck, the snake skin pressed against her heart, where it could feel her life's pulse. Nia listened as the elder whispered a prayer. Aerie, enter this amulet, guard this child's sleep, let her understand the earth and its hidden waters. No one else was present, just two souls in silence before the desert's ancient secret. Wearing the amulet for the first time, Naya inhaled its distinct scent. Salty, dry sand mixed with a faint tang of animal bone. It wasn't sweet like flowers, but carried an oddly comforting safety. She lay down, knees slightly bent, hand resting on the amulet's cloth, eyes fixed on the tent's ceiling. A desert breeze slipped through the walls, bringing a faint chill, then faded into stillness. The air grew heavy, as if awaiting something mystical. Sleep came slowly, her breaths aligning with the hum of a bamboo fan. In her dream, Naya stood amid endless sand, a crescent moon casting silver ripples across the dunes. Before her, the snake god appeared, its massive body coiling, scales gleaming like pearls. Its emerald eyes radiated forgiveness and love. The snake enveloped Nia in a sudden embrace, not crushing but cradling her like a mother shielding her child. The night's chill vanished, replaced by warmth spreading through her body. A voice resonated within her. You are chosen. Guide humanity to meet the desert spirit. Naya awoke as dawn's faint light seeped through the tent's slits. She quietly removed the amulet, bringing it to her nose to breathe in the snakeskin's scent, feeling the cloth graze her hand. Her eyes welled, her heart still echoing the dream's warmth. She knew she'd crossed the threshold of the ordinary world, stepping into a new mission, to bridge the Malians and the desert's snake god. The villagers looked at her differently, not just the girl who gathered roots, but one chosen by the snake spirit. In the days that followed, Naya felt attuned to the wind's whispers through the sand, sensing underground water when digging into dry earth. She recognized every shrub signaling a snake's lair, but felt no fear, for in her dream the snake god had gifted her an invisible armor. Each night, villagers saw her dart along the trail, the amulet swaying at her neck, as if soothing the desert's soul. Gradually, miracles unfolded. A dry well surged with cool, clear water. Old snake tracks, once dusted gold, vanished, leaving smooth earth for travelers. Nia's story became a legend, spreading across the region. Even skeptics, after one visit to her tent, couldn't deny the wonders. Nia didn't boast about her mystical dream, but quietly embraced her role as a messenger, leading villagers in rain-summoning rituals, pointing out new well sites, and, most importantly, preserving faith in respecting this small creature. Thanks to Irie, the desert snake god, nights grew less frigid and days less parched since she wore the amulet. Each night, Naya stepped from her tent, hand touching the amulet, smiling wistfully. The amulet wasn't just a talisman, but proof of the magic that unfolds when humble hearts open to divine visits. On the cold sand, Naya became the youngest woman in village history to carry the harmony between humanity and a reptilian spirit, ready to guard the sleep of all who respected desert life. Thus, the tale of her first night wearing the amulet wasn't just a turning point, but a testament to a truth. When humans are humble enough, nature bestows miracles. As the desert night descends, flimsy cloth tents rise like bubbles across the sea of sand. Gone are the flickering oil lamps. The space is lit only by the ethereal glow of a crescent or full moon. Many ancient Malian communities chose to sleep outdoors, a ritual to merge with nature and maintain a delicate connection with the spiritual realm. They called it the house without lamps, where space and time seem wrapped in the silver silence of moonlight. Before night stretches its gossamer veil, every family clears the area around their tent, removing pebbles and dry twigs, leveling a small patch to lay down woven reed mats. The mats are thin, just enough to shield skin from sand, but not to block the night's chill. They arrange the mats in a wide circle, placing a mattress woven from goat wool at the center, soft enough to rest on, yet allowing the sand's breathing rhythm to be felt. Around the circle, they hang baskets with snake amulets, suspended like spiritual lanterns, ready to signal the snake spirit's arrival. The flimsy tents are pitched upside down, open on both sides to let the breeze flow freely. No beast dares enter when the moon is high, for the silver light on human skin signals to the snake gods. A glowing figure in the night is surely a peaceful soul, not an intruder. In that moment, the snake amulet becomes an invisible compass, emitting a biological frequency only snake spirits understand. This is the master I protect. In the stillness, only the faint rustle of tent flaps breaks the silence as the wind shifts. The sound is as soothing as a stream, a psychological anchor giving desert dwellers a sense of safety. as if cradled in Mother Earth's embrace. Under the moon's silver glow, details blur. Dunes morph into stalactite waves. Distant rocks turn into mysterious giants. The scene erases the day's heat and daily worries, calming the soul, opening the heart to the universe's breath. Some communities take the ritual further. They craft a small cloth window facing the moon, whether red or pale green, veiled by sand dust. The moon is welcomed as an honored guest. They say only by gazing through that window can one feel their heartbeat sync with the earth's pulse. The snake god, once a silent predator, becomes a messenger of peace, coiling around moon and wind, guarding the sleep of those who show respect. On many nights, they bring a small rattle guitar, a wooden frame strung with goat gut, and play soft melodies. The languid notes blend with the wind, a serenade to the snake god. The amulet, hung before them or tucked under their pillow, clinks faintly when they shift, signaling their position to the spirits. Villagers call it Ares GPS, the snake god positioning system. Sleeping under the moon isn't always serene. On stormy nights, when giant winds spiral into whirlwinds, tents sway and creak as if about to lift into the sky. In those frantic moments, the snake amulet is a spiritual anchor. A light touch on its skin, a whiff of its hide and bone scent, and it's as if an invisible hand embraces and protects. The sand's rustling against the ears becomes a melodic symphony, lulling the soul back into sleep. Sometimes, those sleeping outdoors hear the snake god's sigh echoing in the quiet night. Legend holds it's a sign the god is patrolling, checking if its wards remain under protection. The lucky few who hear it while sleeping dream of meeting the snake spirit, receiving sacred words about rain, harvests, or reminders of humility. Many recount dreams of rain transforming barren fields or crystal springs bursting from sand, sparking sudden joy. When the dream ends, they wake to a rosy dawn, seeing dew glisten on the sand like scattered crystals. The amulet's scent lingers on their skin, a reminder of the night spent lying under the cosmos, hearing Mother Earth's breath and feeling the desert spirit's love. Each morning, they gently roll up the mats, dismantle the tents, and tuck the amulet into a wooden box, ready for the next night. Their morning steps glide lightly over the sand, footprints fading as fleeting memories. What matters resides in the heart. The belief that nature isn't just a harsh foe, but a companion, ready to teach humility and sharing. The snake amulet isn't the sole protector, but an invisible thread linking human souls to the universe's essence. Over time, the house without lamps became a desert cultural gem, a place of absolute stillness where worries sink beneath soft sand, and the moon serves as the only guiding light. They hold the amulet to their nose, inhale deeply, let their hearts drift with the dry breeze, and close their eyes. The wind's caress on the sand sings like a natural choir. Trust in the invisible protection, and let your soul rest in the desert's embrace. In that moment, under a starlit sky, the Malians recline on their reed mats, fully entrusting their dreams to the moon and the snake amulet. Two divine guides ensuring a peaceful awakening amid the vast sea of sand. As dawn's sunlight spills over the pale pink dunes, the Malians awaken in the serene silence of the desert. Before leaving their tents, they slip the snake amulet around their necks, an indispensable adornment, then grasp the handle of a knife and a leather water flask. The amulet is more than a spiritual trinket. It's a helmet for predators, shielding its wearer from the sudden strikes of desert snakes, especially during hunts or foraging for wild roots. On the rugged trails, scattered tracks of desert antelopes mingle with occasional paw prints of wild leopards. Villagers follow these signs, moving slowly but decisively. The amulet sways around their necks, brushing against collarbones, emitting a faint clinking sound like a bell signaling their position to the snake god's spirit. When desert winds whip up blinding dust, the amulet becomes an invisible compass, guiding their path, as lore holds that its sound resonates clearest toward the snake spirit's gathering. Throughout the journey, the Malians listen for the subtle grind of sand grains. A faint rustle near a rock crevice might signal a hidden snake nest. In such moments, the amulet's wearer turns slowly, letting its clinks whisper, triggering the desert creature's instincts. Snakes often retreat or burrow deeper into the sand, allowing the traveler to proceed safely. Modern protective gear like helmets or chainmail armor never crossed their minds. The snake amulet is their true helmet, blending faith with survival wisdom. In the summer heat, when temperatures soar to 45 degrees Celsius and sand glows like hot ash, villagers tie the amulet to flat woven hats, creating a small shield against sand-laden winds. Many hunters attach amulets to bag straps or spear handles used for hunting desert sand sharks, clawed creatures for capturing wild game. Each time a spear is drawn, the amulet taps against leather gloves, its familiar sound a reminder. Be cautious. Snakes may be near. In their eyes, the amulet isn't mere decoration, but a silent partner, ever vigilant alongside them. At noon, when the sun blazes overhead, the Malians rest under rare acacia trees. In the shade of their gnarled leaves, they shift the amulet from neck to chest to avoid tangling with belts or bags. The raw scent of snakeskin wafts across their skin, subtly cooling their bodies like a breeze from the earth's depths. It's an almost instinctive comfort. A deep inhale of the amulet's scent reassures them that physical and spiritual dangers are kept at bay. Women gathering dry grasses or nut fruits as cola root substitutes tie amulets to the brim of reed hats. When bending to pick fruit, the hat dips low, but the amulet grazes their scalp, continuously sending faint signals. It might seem bothersome, yet day after day they prefer the amulet's soft clinking in the desert's expanse over nameless unease. The amulet is a passport to unsafe lands where each step could mean life or death. Children, too, wear amulets like adults, though smaller. They tie them to shirt backs or braid them into hair tufts. During games of tag, the amulets swing, ringing rhythmically like drums marking time. Kids discreetly show off new amulets from their grandmothers, proud of authentic pieces crafted by the elder, capable of warding off snake bites. Mothers let their children play in the sand, trusting the amulet to protect even the clumsiest steps. When the rainy season arrives, dry sand paths turn to sticky mud, and desert snakes slither along water trails to shelters. Village sentries form patrols, clad in thick ash-gray cloaks, amulets hung on their chests. The amulet not only warns of snakes, but is believed to absorb moisture, keeping wearers dry. Its clinking through muddy water creates a lively rhythm, like a folk song celebrating the desert's rainy season. During village festivals, as the sun sets behind sand hills, people gather around a large bonfire. A traditional game challenges whose amulet is the finest, not by material value, but by the elder's validation of its spiritual potency. The winner earns the right to recount a tale of the snake god saving them from peril. The amulet's clinks sync with the beat of goatskin drums, mingling with joyous laughter, crafting a scene both sacred and festive. Village artisans teach the young to care for amulets, using small brushes to clear sand, wiping them with cloths soaked in tamarisk oil to keep the snakeskin soft and its scent intact. For the bone powder, they cautiously sprinkle a bit more onto the skin, ensuring the amulet retains its vital energy. This task is seen as tending to a dear friend, not mere maintenance. When harvesting drought-resistant crops, farmers weave amulets into sack straps to deter snakes from stealing food. Each grain sack bears a smaller preservation amulet, preventing mold and repelling desert moles. Thanks to the herbal essence in the bone powder and oils in the snake skin, the next season yields plump seeds, which villagers call a miracle of the amulet. On trans-desert trade routes, caravan camels carry amulets tied to saddles. Foreign traders, initially skeptical, grow fond of buying amulets as keepsakes after crossing dunes without snake encounters. European merchants bring them to cities, placing them on desks as decor and mementos of daring journeys. The snake amulet thus becomes a cultural emblem, blending faith, survival, and craftsmanship. Even as electricity reaches the village, the desert's darkness remains impenetrable. The Malians craft oil lamps from dried fruit shells, with golden scale beads reflecting candlelight. They place amulets at the lamp's base, the flickering flame highlighting the bead's shimmer, as if the amulet revives in the glow. Gazing at the lamp, villagers see the snake god's form in each flame, a reminder of its protective power. Ultimately, the snake amulet accompanies the Malians in every endeavor: hunting, foraging, farming, trading, and festivals, while embedding a philosophy. Humans are not separate from nature, but thrive through understanding and respecting what lies beyond control. The amulet, with its warm skin, golden scales, and ancient bone, is living proof of the enduring bond between faith and daily life, past and present, humanity and the desert's spirit. As night falls and the amulet's serene clinking resumes, the desert's pulse beats steadily, undaunted by harsh challenges, steadfast in timeless belief. The amulet chief, heir to a lineage of those who commune with desert spirits, is not someone who can simply waltz into the secret sanctuary where raw amulets are stockpiled. This place is a small chamber, nestled against a dune's base, its walls adorned with ancient symbols drawn in pale, herb-dyed powder. Light seeps only through slits in the thatched roof, faintly illuminating stacks of amulets on wooden shelves. Each raw amulet, unrefined, resembles a drab cloth sack, tied shut with leather cords, utterly unremarkable on the outside. Yet within, unblessed snakeskin, unanointed scale beads, and bone powder hold a latent, invisible force, poised to erupt. Only a few from the amulet maker clan may cross this threshold, and only one is chosen as the mastermind, the inheritor of the entire cryptic legacy. They call this person Nene, meaning supreme guardian. Legend tells of the first Nene, who stitched amulets under a starless night, unafraid of the desert's murmurs. Their relic is a bone dagger paired with a hawk eggshell encased in gold, a symbol of authority. Unlike folk healers or shamans, Nene not only masters the blending of materials, but also comprehends the snake god's gaze, the language of sand and wind. From childhood, the heir is led into the secret chamber, forbidden to outsiders. They hear the faint ticking as breezes stir the raw amulets, giving way to a bioelectric pulse linking master to spirit. For outsiders, stepping here is like dancing on a blade's edge. One touch of an unblessed amulet could trigger bizarre reactions, causing brittle bones to hum or sand ash to sear skin, marked by the snake god's spirit. Solemnity envelops the succession ceremony. The clan gathers in the courtyard, elders chanting in a circle. The future Nene, wearing a cap of desert seashells and holding a hooked blade studded with scale beads, enters the smoke-filled secret chamber. As the wooden door shuts, the scent of agarwood incense wafts faintly. The new Nene inhales deeply, eyes half closed, murmuring a prayer, and the first raw amulet emits a thin wisp of smoke, glowing with an eerie silver light. Outside, a faint clink echoes, like the snake spirit's greeting, proof the amulet was chosen, not random. The next Nene faces a trial, sleeping 3 consecutive nights in a lampless desert tent, with only a raw amulet beside them. By day, they hang it in a basket, carrying it with every step to feel its subtle vibrations. If the amulet emits an odd sound, like claws tapping the tent's walls, it signals the snake spirit's rejection. The heir must return, cleanse the amulet with sacred spring water, recite 4 additional chants, and try again. Only after repeated failures, when the amulet falls silent, is it ready for the formal ritual. During apprenticeship, Nene sleeps beside raw amulets, waking each morning to sit before a small altar, gently rubbing snake scales and beads, then gazing into a bronze mirror. The mentor instructs, "Let your eyes be calm enough to see inside the amulet's shell. When you understand the faint hiss of its scales, you'll hear the spirit's first message." The first Nene once dreamed of a massive sandstorm, giant snake scales shielding the village, a sign the amulet's power protects the community, not just one soul. Curious outsiders who sneak into the chamber and touch an unblessed amulet invite calamity. A tale speaks of a young man, eager to learn, who slipped in at night and handled a raw amulet. He was found collapsed behind a shelf, drenched in sweat, eyes rolled back, unrecognizing friends. The village summoned an amulet maker to save him, using bone powder and drum dances. For 3 days, he lay delirious, waking with strange eyes staring into nothingness. He shunned amulets thereafter, despite his admiration. The story is retold as a warning. Raw amulets are like untamed snakes, ready to bite their master. Preserving raw amulets is an art. They're neatly stacked in wooden boxes, separated by dry straw to prevent moisture. Each box is labeled with size and last drying date. The elder checks monthly, lifting an amulet and dusting it with tamarisk powder to refresh its primal scent. They believe the scent, dulled by time, must be revived to keep the spirits mindful of the amulet. Once Nene performs the blessing ritual, carving special symbols, soaking in sacred springs overnight, and drying under a crescent moon for 3 nights, the raw amulet truly hosts the snake spirit. It transforms into something approachable. The skin softens, beads gleam like radiant veins, and bone powder emits a warm, rich scent. Only then does Nene entrust it to its owner with a warning. Respect it. Let no one touch an unblessed amulet. From here, the raw amulet becomes a true tanha, safe for its owner to handle without fear of misfortune. Villagers, though barred from touching raw amulets, revere them absolutely. They bow when Nene brings one to the village, treating them like a deity among mortals. During harvest festivals, raw amulets are displayed on a ceremonial platform. People lightly touch a bowl of bone powder, a bead, or a small snakeskin piece to test its potency. Villagers line up to collect a fallen bead, tucking it into cloth bags, believing it carries miniature protective energy, ensuring safe work. The allure of the amulet craft lies in the contrast between the dull cloth sack's exterior and the invisible power within. Outsiders see a faded bag, but those in the know feel a faint vibration when gazing closely, like hearing the pulse of living essence. This sensation surpasses any modern technology, drawing people closer to a supernatural world where faith and life intertwine. The village craft's secret isn't just in material recipes, but in selecting the soul heir, the successor's soul. As Nene passes through generations, the clan upholds an unwritten rule. Never reveal the chamber's entrance, the carved symbols, or the incense lighting ritual to outsiders. Even the closest non-clan villagers, hearing the desert wind hiss through wall slits, dare not pry. A curious glance could be noted by the snake spirit, repaid with a delirious, sweat-soaked trance. Time marches on, and the outside world may change, but the amulet craft preserves its core, guarding secrets like the desert's soul. The raw amulets rest silently in the dark, awaiting their next blessing. Villagers, young and old, know that one day, when the snake god seeks a new messenger, the old door will creak open, and another child will step through, ready to shoulder the duty of linking humanity to the unseen. Then, the secret will pass on, and that mundane cloth sack will once again carry an invisible might potent enough to awaken the desert snake's spirit anew. As the desert sun begins to wane, casting a golden hue over the soft dunes, the Malians don't immediately gather around a meal. Instead, they dedicate time to an ancient ritual, arranging snake amulets around the hearth to safeguard their food. First, a woven reed mat is spread flat on the sand, marking a safe zone for the fire. The firekeeper, often the eldest woman in the family, gently places blessed snake amulets in a circle around the hearth, spaced just right to form a spiritual shield, yet not so close that smoke taints them with grease. The amulets dangle, their golden scale beads glinting, swaying slightly with gentle breezes. The scent of snakeskin mingled with animal bone powder wafts through the air, a subtle reminder of the desert spirit's presence. The Malians believe that with the snake god Iri dwelling in the amulets, any venomous insect or reptile daring to approach the food will face instant divine retribution. They whisper that if a scorpion so much as licks a drop of broth from a ladle, its jaws will freeze, its spirit bound, unable to escape. Once the amulets are set, the hearth is rekindled with acacia twigs and delicate dry grass, producing fragrant smoke. This smoke not only repels desert mosquitoes, but activates the amulet's energy, making their beads shimmer under the firelight like a miniature Milky Way beside the simmering pot. In that moment, clay lids, buffalo-handled ceramic pots, and rough iron pans become sacred objects. Each crackle of burning wood sounds like a drumbeat, summoning the snake god to witness. On ordinary days, the meal is mainly watery millet porridge, sometimes paired with fire-roasted kola roots or salt-cured goat meat. The Malians believe the desert snake's venom, the most feared seasoning, poses no threat when Irie stands guard. Each spoonful of soup, its warm millet aroma blending with smoke and snakeskin scent, creates a peculiar mix only desert dwellers can savor. They call it the taste of peace, inviting the spirits to rest easy, ensuring the family's meal nourishes both body and soul. As the food simmers, the firekeeper tilts her head eastward, judging whether the smoke rises with the wind's favor, a sign called auspicious smoke. If it climbs high and disperses evenly, the meal will be savory and the gathering harmonious. If it clumps like thick fog, they gently wave the amulets around the pot's spout a few times, as if infusing stability. The soft rustle of snakeskin brushing together echoes, brightening the hearth's glow, warming the chilly desert night. During cooking, the men return from hunting, bringing small game, desert hares or woodpecker birds. They place the animals on a large stone by the tent, cleaning off blood and stray feathers. Elders meticulously carve tiny scale-like patterns on the hides with daggers, sprinkling bone powder to bind the meat to the desert spirit, forging a link between prey and snake god. When the game is lightly seared, the smoke and faint gamey scent blend into something oddly comforting. All souls rest easy. No trace of poison from the barren earth taints the meat. The fire's crackling sets the stage for the sharing ritual. The meal begins when the amulets are raised to eye level, turned clockwise 3 times, then returned to the circle. This seemingly clumsy act is a declaration to the spirits. We are ready. Please partake with us. The family then sits in order of age, from eldest to youngest, backs against a small wooden rack, hands clutching handleless village-made ceramic bowls set on cloth pads to avoid burns. When a bowl touches the ground, the amulet's soft clinking resonates, urging gratitude for the meal's warmth and bestowed safety. Diners use wooden spoons, scooping steaming millet porridge, slurping heartily to savor its rich, smoky flavor. The slurping blends with the amulet's sounds, forming a unique symphony, like a lullaby for the desert snake god. The Malians say the amulet not only wards off real snakes, but banishes the hunger in their hearts, filling both body and spirit. As the meal nears its end, with only fading smoke and a few millet crumbs left in the pot, the firekeeper uses wooden chopsticks to scrape the remnants, collecting a small portion in a bowl placed beside the amulets. This is the spirit's offering, millet reserved for Irie, a thank you for protecting the family. They believe neglecting this offering dims the amulet's power, risking the return of snake venom's curse. When the amulet's leather cords clink one final time, a cool northern breeze sweeps through, clearing the hearth's smoke and lingering dampness. It's a good omen, signaling the meal's completion and the snake god's acceptance of the offering. Everyone lowers the offering bowl to the ground, bowing once more, hearts swelling with indescribable peace. After the meal, the amulets are removed and hung on a wooden rack by the hearth, The household wraps them carefully in cotton cloth to keep out sand. To the Malians, the amulet isn't just a protective tool, but a family member. It holds memories of every meal, every laugh, every sacred ritual. They say it absorbs the energy of shared meals, radiating warmth into each night's sleep. As night falls again, and the second meal, supper, prepares to begin with the same ritual, the amulets are arranged with care. The desert wind hums softly through tent slits, carrying traces of lingering incense smoke, like the snake spirit's whisper, "Savor and rest easy." The sunset meal, whether simple or hearty, becomes a milestone binding humans to nature, faith, and each other. Thus, every meal is more than nourishment. It's a spiritual journey drawing the Malians closer to the desert's soul. The snake amulet, with its golden beads and bone powder, though small and humble, holds supreme guardianship, letting them give thanks through each spoonful of millet, each bite of hair, each final slurp, before sinking into peaceful sleep under the vast desert sky. As the moonlight finally fades behind the dunes and the desert wind hums like an eternal ballad, the Malians awaken within an age-old mystery. The snake amulet. Is it magic? To outsiders, amulets and magic seem like twin concepts, both cloaked in mysticism and enchantment. But to the desert folk, they're as distinct as water and sand. The amulet is a product of folk science, born from crude yet refined knowledge of natural pharmacology and chemistry in snakeskin. Magic, however, is a cryptic language reserved for shamans and legends, unfit for mundane life. At dawn, after a solemn meal with the snake amulet ritual, as the sun hovers on the horizon like a giant bronze disk, curious visitors occasionally arrive. They see women curing snakeskin, men soaking bead metals in spring water and drying them under moonlight, and they quickly ask, "Is this witchcraft and magic?" The Malians smile softly, gently shaking the amulet around their necks, and explain, "Not quite. This is wisdom passed down through generations. Folk science, not baseless trickery." In the village meeting house, where oil lamplight flickers through a cloth doorframe, elders recount the amulet's origins. They don't start with divine tales, but with the story of Kanu, a snake-scale hunter. Kanu meticulously studied dried snakeskin, burning pieces, grinding bones, measuring spring water temperatures, and noting scale colors under light. Over decades of trial, he discovered the synergy of oil-rich snakeskin, bone powder packed with calcium and collagen, and hawk eggshell beads high in minerals, creating a scent that repels insects and inhibits their nervous systems, making real snakes wary. Kanu and his descendants shared this knowledge. When healers mix bone powder with tamarisk and sage herbs, it purifies the amulet, allowing the powder to absorb essential oil molecules that resist bacteria, forming a thin protective film against mold. When elders dry amulets under a crescent moon, they're not just praying, but leveraging the moon's weak yet bactericidal light spectrum to naturally sterilize and stabilize the skin's moisture without rapid shrinkage. These methods emerged from folk science, refined through experience and practical testing, not invisible incantations. Magic, by contrast, lurks in tales of the Zali clan's shamans. Legends claim they could burn raw amulets in secret vials, unleashing the snake god's spirit to command desert sand or dusty winds. Zali shamans believed magic could control the unseen, turn amulets pitch black to burn evildoers, or summon sudden rain. Yet village records show few, if any, witnessed such feats firsthand, suggesting much of it was embellished folklore. In the secret succession tent, Nana's heirs whisper about the science behind amulets. They test bone powder's pH, examine scale structures under crude magnifying lenses, measure fire temperatures, and quantify residual oils. Magic here is a deception for the uninitiated. They drape rituals in grandeur and invoke ancient spirit terms, but the amulet is completed through herbal knowledge and mechanical physics. The miracle lies in human understanding of the environment, not spells, but natural chemical reactions. Villagers once chuckled when foreign traders demanded magic snake-repelling amulets. They explained the amulet's essence. It combines collagen-rich snakeskin, mineral-packed bone powder, and magnesium-infused beads. When worn, mechanical and chemical effects create a microbarrier, preventing real snakes from sensing humans as threats. Westerners, initially stunned, soon recognized the community's dedication behind the myth, a folk wisdom forged through centuries of harsh living. At dusk, preparing for a rain-summoning ritual, the elder reinforces the amulet versus magic distinction with a metaphor. Magic is like a dream of building a castle on sand, relying on mystic chance. The amulet is a real castle of stone, sand, and cement, enduring despite desert storms. They say magic can intoxicate, clouding wisdom. The snake amulet keeps them alert, understanding nature and themselves. This tradition is a living history lesson on harnessing nature to survive and thrive. As night returns and the small hearth fire dims, elders cluster around a tamarind table, etching ancient symbols on snakeskin, while curious children mutter, "If magic is real, how do we see the snake god's eyes appear?" The elder smiles kindly. Relying only on magic blinds us. True faith is powerful, but only paired with knowledge does it guide us through hardship. The amulet proves it, utterly effective, yet no illusion. Thus, each snake amulet carries dual legacies, a spiritual one, fostering belief in the unseen, and a folk scientific one, rooted in pharmacology, chemistry, and time-tested experience. The difference between amulet and magic isn't in outsiders' exotic views, but in the Malians' perception. The amulet is a survival tool perfected by intellect and practice, while magic is a dreamy tale fit for fairy tales. In the desert's spiritual map, the snake amulet is a steadfast path, guiding travelers through freezing winters and scorching summers. Magic may lift spirits, but like fleeting incense smoke, it obscures. The amulet anchors the heart, keeping people alert, resilient, and ready for any challenge. As you close your eyes, know the amulet isn't a shaman's whisper, but a product of centuries of hard-earned wisdom, making every breeze and desert gust friendlier to those who respect nature. Good night, my friend. The Malians have always believed that words wield the power to shape reality, and in their ancient belief system, the phrase Relin Na holds a central place, like a golden thread linking humanity to the desert's soul. In Bambara, Relin Na literally translates to snake scales, but to the Malians, it carries a deeper meaning, a vow of protection. From the faltering syllables babbled by children to the sacred chant intoned during grand ceremonies, Relin Na resounds like a collective heartbeat, whispering across the desert and etching profound faith into every soul. Each dawn, as the sun lingers below the horizon and thin mist clings to the air, hunters close their tent flaps, sling leather pouches over their shoulders, and tie water flasks to their waists. Before stepping onto the uneven sandy trails, they pause, hands resting on the snake amulet, a piece of blessed, dried snake skin, and softly utter, Relin Na. The whisper ripples outward, the amulet's golden scale beads seeming to flicker in response, as if signaling Iri, the desert snake god. In that moment, the hunter feels unalone. An invisible serpent shadow stands by, guarding each step. On the vast plains, where wind-scoured sand turns jagged, they tread carefully, tracking wild game for their next meal. Relin Na echoes as they crouch to inspect footprints etched in the earth, their keen eyes scanning the dunes' movements. Whether it's the delicate tracks of an antelope or the rugged claw marks of a leopard, the chant sharpens their senses, helping distinguish signs of survival from those of danger. Should they stumble upon a snake's trail, uttering Relin Na acts like an inner compass, awakening protective energy, silently warning the predator. Stay back. As the sun climbs, the desert blazes like a furnace, and flimsy cloth tents offer harsh refuge. The Malians craft shade from dried palm fronds, sheltering 2 or 3 beneath its cool. Before gathering around a low wooden table for a midday rest, they clasp hands and pray. Relin Na. The simple call tempers the searing air, as if opening a valve to let a trickle of spiritual coolness seep into their hearts. Under the relentless sun, they sip chilled water, hands slowly patting the amulet at their necks, soothing the promise of a peaceful afternoon. It's not just adults who know Relin Na. In the ramshackle schoolyard amid the sand, children toddle to open-air classes, cloth bags with blackboards and chalk rags slung across their backs. They take turns chanting Relin Na before sketching snake scales on the sand. The curving scale patterns they draw aren't just art lessons, but lessons in faith. No matter life's hardships, simple belief can trace a path to safety. When the teacher repeats the phrase, the children's eyes sparkle, as if touching the magic of a tranquil world. During rain-summoning ceremonies, Relin Na is indispensable in the most vital ritual. The tribe's representative, often the elder or nene, the heir to amulet secrets, kneels before a stone altar within a sand circle. Holding the snake amulet, they bow their head and intone Relin Na 3 times, slow and resonant. The chant extends 8 more times, forming 11 beats, a sacred number tied to the 4 winds, 4 seasons, and a cosmic harmony. Each whispered echo lingers, stirring the thin moisture hidden beneath the sand, sometimes sparking a gentle rain over cracked earth. Behind each repetition lies the Aztec vault, a repository of sacred authority. Like the Aztecs who believed rain came from envoys crossing holy peaks, the Malians believe Relin Na channels faith into snake scales, filling a spiritual treasury. During prolonged droughts, they gather old amulets, worn by decades of use, and bring them to the ceremonial ground. Placed in a carved wooden chest adorned with coiled snakes, they chant Relin Na in unison to recharge their power. From then, each amulet brims with collective strength, ready to shield every night. The language isn't confined to grand rituals, but roots itself in daily speech. When women head to nearby markets, they sling lace bags of millet and dried meat over their shoulders. Before lifting their sandals from wooden steps, they murmur "Relin na," a passport for safe passage through dusty trails. As their sandals clack against the wood, the amulet brushes their collarbone, emitting a faint sound, reinforcing, "The scales are watching." The chant weaves into decorative arts. On tapestries woven from desert grass, snake scale patterns adorn the surface. Skilled weavers embroider stylized Relin na script among the motifs, making the fabric both warm and sacred. When hearth firelight spills across the tapestry, the sequined scales glimmer like starlight, reminding viewers of the vow of protection hidden in each thread. When outsiders visit, hosts often gift them a smaller amulet called the Relin Mini. Before presenting it, they stroke the amulet, whispering Relin na 3 times near the guest's ear. The resonant chant brings peace, even to those unfamiliar with Bambara, as if someone gently pats their back, murmuring, "All will be well." Guests take the amulet home, hanging it in their rooms, where the beads clinking in the breeze recalls their wondrous desert journey. As night falls again, reed mats are folded, supper concludes, and the snake amulet is removed, hung on a wooden rack by the pillow. In the quiet, hands rest on the amulet, hearts filled with the gentle echo of Relin na, a bridge between the seen and unseen, where snake scales uphold their vow of protection. In that serenity, they sink into sleep, carrying their ancestors' oath that, despite swirling sands or storms, Relin na will pulse forever in their hearts, sustaining faith and an eternal bond between humanity and the desert's soul. The desert's curse isn't just a shimmering tale told by campfires. Sometimes, it unleashes tragedies that shatter illusions of absolute safety in the golden sands. An old story speaks of Sorrow, a robust young hunter, the village's finest tracker. Each dawn, Sorrow donned his snake amulet, armed himself with a sharp spear and leather water flask. His faith in the amulet saw him through countless encounters with reptiles, but his arrogance led to his downfall. Sorrow didn't just hunt game. He chased the secrets of the snake amulet. Rumors of its crafting rituals in a hidden tent fueled his curiosity. One crescent moon night, Sorrow sneaked into the amulet maker's chamber, daring to touch the wooden threshold and handle the chest of raw amulets. The dim night, lit only by faint incense embers, cast an eerie silence. Before realizing his mistake, Sorrow grabbed an unblessed amulet, intending to flaunt his prize. The moment his fingers brushed the coarse cloth, a gust outside lashed the tent's fabric walls, sending incense ashes swirling wildly. Sand roared like thunder, winds whipping into a towering dust wall that swept the chamber. Sorrow flinched, eyes wild with panic. He tried to drop the amulet, but it wasn't ordinary snakeskin. Its golden scale beads trembled as if ready to leap, and the bone powder beneath the fabric flared with an eerie glow. The dust storm didn't relent, burying the wooden floor in sand, dragging Sorrow's feet deeper with each step. His hands, smeared with ash, shook. His eyes clouded from inhaling dry dust. When the wind finally stilled, Sorrow found himself not on wood, but sinking into searing sand below. The sacred succession ritual had been violated. The snake god's spirit, instead of protecting, was enraged. In the days that followed, the village reeled in horror as the sand around the amulet maker's tent turned into a natural minefield. Not iron mines, but thousands of deep, narrow pits with bottoms coated in jet black sand. Anyone stepping into the area would vanish, swallowed by the sand. Innocent wanderers or root gatherers nearby never returned. Hunter Tano, who merely grazed a small pit, nearly drowned in thick sand, later recounting blood-curdling screams echoing from below, like the growl of a colossal beast awakened. Panic spread, silencing morning greetings. The village searched for sorrow, but their calls echoed in vain. Rituals once bringing rain and peace now failed. The old amulet maker, steadfast in the amulet's power, admitted sorrow's trespass had angered the spirits, and the desert sand no longer forgave the irreverent. To mend the disaster, the village elder and Nene, the amulet maker's heir, held a grand atonement ceremony. They dug a large pit in the village center, placing the stolen raw amulet into the earth, covering it with fine sand. The community stood silently around the pit, whispering Relin Na 10 times. Then 4 elders, representing the 4 winds, scattered dry sand in a cross to seal the transgression. Finally, they burned all raw amulets, extinguishing the incense, proving the stain was cleansed. The acrid scent of snakeskin and bone powder formed a somber smoke, rising and dissolving into the night like a mournful hymn. In the ensuing silence, a light rain fell. Proof the snake god Aeri still listened, relenting when atonement was sincere. The village learned a harsh lesson. The snake amulet isn't a game of chance, but a profound blend of folk science and faith. For the first time, they witnessed its dark side, dubbed the curse of the snake scales. Henceforth, those careless in rituals or disrespectful to desert spirits tread warily near sandpits, treating the amulet maker's tent as hallowed ground, never touching raw amulets or prying into the secret chamber. Over time, the sand minefield subsided, the pits leveled and marked with wooden posts carved with broken snake scales. Life resumed with the snake amulet, but the lesson of shattering romantic myths echoed through generations. Those who saw the amulet as a mere safety accessory now understood. It holds both positive power and fierce repercussions, depending on its use and reverence. The snake amulet, born of folk science and faith, now bears a historical mark, a testament to faith's fragility without respect. The desert sands remain vast, but those ancient pits remind, arrogance breeds disaster. As night falls, the desert wind hums through tent flaps, and Relina rings not just to summon sacred power, but to whisper, honor the unseen. Never break the delicate gift bestowed by ancestors. One pale sunset, as the day's final sand-swirling breeze swept through the village, a sharp whisper pierced the tranquil air. What truly killed her? The question lingered on the villagers' lips for countless nights. Yelin, the keeper of the last generation's snake amulet embroidery secrets, was found beside a desert shrub, her amulet's thread severed around her neck. The familiar amulet, once her shield through countless sandstorms, now lay stained with sand and ash. The villagers couldn't help but wonder, had the amulet lost its power, or had the snake god's mercy ceased to protect? The morning after her mysterious death, Yelen's cloth tent home was unnervingly silent. No laughter, no sound of a knife carving dried snakeskin. They saw the torn fabric at her throat, silver-white threads dangling, swaying lightly in the breeze. Each stitch, once sealing the promise of protection, now unraveled, carrying a pang of grief. Yelen, once Ares' envoy, the desert snake god, lay still, a bitter lesson. Not every amulet retains its power forever. That afternoon, the usual goatskin drumbeat didn't call the village to gather. Instead, a rough sand circle was traced around an ancient acacia tree where Yelen often spun her legends. Elder High, temporarily assuming the Nene role as amulet maker heir, stooped to collect scattered amulet scraps, placing them in a small wooden box. Each torn cloth, each shattered bead, evoked Yelen's gentle face in their memories. A second question arose. Had they relied too heavily on the amulet's magic, neglecting the importance of reverence? As the villagers threaded through sandy trails, their steps faltered, less steady than before. For years, the snake amulet had been an invisible shield, warding off venom and peril. They wore it day and night, believing sleep impossible without it. Yet Yelen's amulet thread had snapped. It wasn't due to age. It had been remade less than a month prior, during a triumphant rain-summoning ritual. So what happened? This anomaly led seasoned villagers to suspect. The amulet's potency depends on its wearer's pure heart. Rumors swirled that Yelen had recently clashed with some youths. One evening, she caught them playfully unthreading a sample amulet out of curiosity, then hiding it. She sternly scolded them, demanding they apologize to Aerie before sleep. Some said harsh words wounded the snake spirit, causing Aerie to withdraw. If true, Yelen's death wasn't random, but a painful test. Faith cannot thrive without responsibility and respect. Amid this trial of sincerity, the villagers held a ritual to restitch the amulets. New threads traced curving symbols, bone powder was mixed with tamarisk, and beads were gilded with richer gold. The crowd watched in silence, only the whisper of sand underfoot and the earth's quickened breath audible. As the final stitch pierced, Elder High knotted 3 firm ties, raising the amulet with resolute eyes. We vow to honor our oath, never to falter again. His prayer spoke not just for the departed, but for all. The amulet won't break again if they keep their hearts pure. That night, vivid dreams visited a few who took new amulets. They saw Yelen smiling amid a breeze, clad in a scale-patterned robe, beckoning them to a new underground spring. The dreams didn't terrify but comforted. Don't fear, acknowledge mistakes, seek the Spirit's forgiveness, and carry on. The soothing sensation, like an invisible snake scales caress, reminded them Aerie's compassion lingered, awaiting repentant hearts. Villagers noted that after the restitching ritual, the sand around Yelen's tent stabilized. The deep pits filled, though broken snake scale marks remained etched in the golden sand, a haunting reminder. Amulets can bridge humans and spirits, but betray if hearts harm their merciful power. Rising from failure, they shed arrogance, distilling a lesson. Humility and community keep the amulet's potency alive. As the desert night soothed the last rays of sun, flimsy tents glowed faint orange, and villagers gathered by a small fire. Silence prevailed, eyes fixed on the new snake amulet. No one mentioned sorrow's folly or blamed the youths. Instead, they shared memories of Yellen, her gentle hands stitching amulets, her voice both stern and loving as she taught the young. The question shifted from, "Why did the amulet break?" to, "How do we honor our vow to the spirits and each other?" Though gone, Yellen lived on in each amulet stitch and every reminder of reverence. The harsh desert sands became witnesses to humanity's resilience after a painful fall. When young men tied amulets around their necks, they no longer forgot the old lesson. Power lies not in snake scales, but in hearts that mend mistakes and stay loyal to the community. Yellen's haunting death became a source of inspiration. They retold her story not to instill fear, but to awaken. The snake amulet is a delicate bridge between human and divine realms. When its threads snap, darkness falls. But by mending with humility, the bridge shines brighter than ever. As desert winds hum through tent flaps, Relin Na whispers like a lullaby. Let no failure erode faith, for by honoring the vow, the protective flame will never fade. Over generations, the ritual of wearing snake amulets transcended the small village on the Sahara's edge, spreading across West Africa like a river of faith winding through sand-swept winds. When Malian hunters crossed sandy borders into Niger in search of game, they carried bags of snake amulets, meticulously stitched shields of sarastes, skin and animal bone powder. At first, Niger's locals eyed the amulets with curiosity, puzzled by how a rough patch of hide and shimmering beads could safeguard sleep and safety. But the word-of-mouth tales of traders and nocturnal hunters ignited a fervent belief in the amulet's power. At Zinder's market fairs, Malian snake amulets were displayed alongside millet grains, spice blends, and tin water jugs. Buyers didn't just admire the dried snakeskin, but inquired about the stitching and bead arrangement. Soon, Niger's local artisans crafted their own version, adding deep red beads dyed from dried cocoa nuts to symbolize dawn's glow on the desert's edge. These red beads not only added vibrancy, but caught the morning light, making the amulet sparkle with movement. The faint cocoa scent blended with dry sand, creating a distinctive aroma instantly recognizable as the Niger amulet. As the sun dipped to the horizon, camel caravans carried the amulets from Mauritania to Burkina Faso. There, Sahel locals weren't content with just beads and snakeskin. They introduced a ritual of burning sage incense before wearing the amulet. The sage smoke wafted through straw tents, leaving a gentle mist on red beads and snakeskin. They believed sage lulled the snake god's spirit, coaxing Irie into rest, before the amulet fully bonded with its wearer. This ritual transformed the snake amulet into a symbol of cultural fusion, each region adding its mark, yet united by a shared faith in supernatural protection. During this time, news of the snake amulet spread like a medieval social media network. Tiana, a spice seller in Ouagadougou, recalled mistaking a Niger amulet for rustic decor until she wore it and slept soundly, undisturbed by crickets or sand-whipped winds. She brought amulets to her market, selling them to kin with a pitch. Let snake scales guard your dreams. Small paper tags tied to each amulet detailed its origins and use, like ancient TikTok flyers. Near the Niger-Mali border, locals spoke of the Harvest Festival, where they prayed for rain and thanked the spirits. Niger's red beaded amulets were woven into garlands draped on posts by the fields. After the ritual, villagers distributed them in small bundles to hang at tent entrances. Each tent became a public post of devotion, and the community liked it by chanting Relin Na aloud, whether in Mali or Niger, regardless of bead color, the phrase echoing as a shared vow. In Burkina Faso, snake amulets became lavish gifts for esteemed guests. West African merchants commissioned Malian and Nigerian artisans to create deluxe versions, incorporating metal beads from desert seashells and sage incense imported from India. The shells symbolized desert dancers, blending earth, water, and breath. Wealthy patrons flaunted these amulets on camel saddles, sparking envy among caravan peers. Everyone craved an amulet bearing their region's signature, a personal badge in the vast community. A European missionary crossing the Sahara documented the snake god custom, bringing the first accounts of amulets to Europe. His journals and sketches, published in exploration books, piqued scientific curiosity. European artists mapped the belief system, amplifying the amulet's fame. Yet, despite spreading across West Africa and beyond through books and trade, the snake amulet retained its core. A seamless blend of folk science and faith, pure desert materials, and meticulous stitching. In every small village, from Mali to Niger, Burkina Faso to remote western Mali, the rituals of stitching and wearing amulets became distinct cultural markers. Each family pitched tents and placed amulets differently. Mali-Burkina Faso border communities embraced both cultures, adding green beads from acacia leaves to symbolize the rainy season. Mali-Niger border folk hung amulets near hearths to catch cocoa-scented smoke, sweetening long nights. The amulet's spread resembled a medieval social media feed, not powered by internet or cell signals, but by traders' journeys, desert winds, and campfire tales. Visitors from one village to another shared the amulet's uses, repelling real snakes, ensuring sound sleep, even easing community tensions. Listeners, captivated, memorized, and passed the stories to the next generation. Thus, the snake amulet became a desert-wide emblem of protection. Sahel locals innovated further. Amulets adorned with porcupine eggshells to ward off earthworms in wet, rainy sand. Each morning, they wrapped amulets in dried leaves, tied with animal sinew, and hung them at tent entrances. Rain-soaked sand couldn't cling to the amulet, and the leaf scent deterred desert pythons. These breakthroughs kept the amulet ever relevant, deeply woven into regional life. As the memory of Nia, the young Malian girl who dreamed of the snake god's protection, spread to Niger and Burkina Faso through tales, it embedded in their psyche. The amulet wasn't just a shield, but a symbol of humanity's bond with nature's power. Whether Mali's incense-filled rituals, Niger's cocoa-scented markets, or Burkina's sage-infused rests, all revolved around Nia's first night wearing the amulet, evoking the faith's sacred origin. Each time desert winds carried glistening sand grains before their eyes, they recalled the ancient journey. Simple rituals by firelight, the whisper of Relin-Na sparking its spread, and the amulet stitched under a crescent moon. This belief transcended geographic, temporal, and linguistic barriers, becoming a Sahel shared heritage. Whether in bustling Niamey or remote Nara, the sight of a snake amulet with red, green, or golden beads around a neck remains a reminder of the wondrous power when humans connect and share faith. As night falls, families from Mali to Burkina bring amulets to oil lamp glow, checking stitches and rubbing beads before wearing them. The whisper of Raylin Na reverberates across the vast desert, a timeless manifesto of reverence and yearning for peace. Amid fine sand's breath and the wind's low hum, the snake amulet, born of science and faith, continues its grand journey, uniting souls craving restful nights wherever they dwell under the desert sky. The woven desert grass mat stretches along the tent's wall, bathed in the faint glow of an oil lamp, casting soft golden streaks across snakeskin and glistening beads. Gazing at the neatly stacked amulets by the pillow, you feel the silent pulse of desert history. Each piece of dried hide, polished scale beads, and intricately knotted sheepskin threads now stands as a witness to a millennia-old sleep ritual. Each amulet, like an ancient gem, quietly draws in light, and as the wind teases the tent's fabric edge, a delicate clinking rises, a harmony of fine sand and the night's breath. The Malians believe this sound is the echo of the snake god Ares' spirit, soothing weary souls. As desert breezes slip through wall slits, grains of sand quiver faintly, recalling the ritual's subtle repetition. Each shift in the wind makes the amulets brush together, weaving a natural lullaby, not rushed, but lingering enough to drift thoughts to ancient memories where humans and nature melded as one. In this moment, time seems to stretch. Before closing your eyes, you rub a hand over the first amulet, feeling its rough texture and smooth beads beneath. The wind's soft whistle murmurs, "Let your soul settle." Your breaths slow, syncing with the amulet's clinking. You recall Nia, the young girl who dreamed of a giant snake's protective embrace, and realize that lulling to sleep isn't just sinking into dreams, but a pilgrimage back to forgotten truths, primal peace and banished fears. Time glides gently. Your eyes begin to close, yet sleep doesn't fully claim you. You hear the tent's fabric breathing, the sand grazing the leather water flask, the chill from the earth rising to your skin. These tiny sounds, barely noticeable, weave a unique lullaby. Not a melodious string orchestra, but a rustic desert symphony with the snake amulet as its lead instrument. To sweeten the rhythm, some light a stick of pure incense, blended sage and a touch of eucalyptus resin, placed near the amulet stack. The ember's faint glow dances under the lamp, mingling with delicate smoke to form a fragrant veil over the snakeskin. The scent seeps into your nose, bringing warmth that calms the heart. It feels like Mother Nature's embrace, easing worries, transforming sleep into a serene journey. Before the desert wind scatters sand across the tent's glow, villagers perform a final act, arranging the amulets in a half circle, like a crescent moon cradling the sky. They call it the second sky, a sanctuary for sleeping souls. Once arranged, only a whispered Raylin Na, repeated thrice, seals the sleep ritual. The brief chant carries weight, a vow of protection until dawn. The lullaby's melody doesn't overpower surrounding noises, but blends with them. The soft tap of sandals on sand, the flask's faint slosh, the rustle of dried palm fronds, all turn melodious through the desert's spiritual lens. The snake amulet doesn't merely make sound, it awakens a dormant instinct, the ability to sense safety in the subtlest signals. As sleep encroaches, vivid ritual images flicker. Naya, lying amid dunes, clutching her amulet, the snake god coiling around her, the elder tracing symbols on snakeskin under a crescent moon, hunters tracking sandy footprints under invisible protection. These images merge into an endless bedtime tale, so when you wake in a dream, you still feel the snake scales shelter. The night passes quietly. As stars fade and the desert's Milky Way dims, you slip into deep sleep. The lullaby lingers in your subconscious, fragments of amulet clinks and wind weaving a bespoke melody for your soul. In dreams, the desert appears as a vast chamber, amulets lined like lanterns lighting a path to boundless peace. Thus, the Malian sleep ritual, refined through generations, continues its mission to draw minds back to the past, to ancient memories where sleep isn't mere rest, but a rebirth of the soul. Each breeze, each amulet, each relin now echoes through the night, gentle, serene, and sweet enough to lull anyone, anywhere, into a tranquil dream under the peaceful desert sky. The legacy of the snake amulet extends far beyond the straw tents on the desert's edge or the moonlit dunes. Today, it thrives in countless forms, from treasured artifacts in ethnographic museums to intricately crafted souvenirs of dried snakeskin, tapestries embroidered with scale patterns, and even modern desert chic jewelry. Each amulet displayed in galleries or museums isn't just visually striking. It carries the story of the ancient Malian community's courage and compassion. In a small Bamako museum, visitors can view an original amulet believed to have belonged to Nia, the young girl who dreamed of a protective snake god. Its snakeskin is worn, threads frayed, beads faded, yet its story remains vivid. It once soothed Nia's panic as dunes trembled under starlight. Displayed beside it are sketches of moonlit amulet stitching rituals and a map tracing the beliefs spread across West Africa. Wandering the exhibit, guests encounter Niger's version, with deep red beads dyed from cocoa nuts, the snakeskin coated in honey wax for scent retention. Nearby, Burkina Faso's rendition features metal beads and sage incense wrapped around it, showcasing local ingenuity in blending faith with art. Each variant marks how belief and creativity intertwined through history. In the children's section, the museum showcases vibrant mini amulets hung on tiny wooden frames. Kids are encouraged to draw Relin Na symbols and weave beads onto fabric replicas. Through this play, the next generation learns not just the craft, but the message. The amulet's true power stems from faith and respect for nature. The tale of Sorrow, the arrogant hunter whose hubris turned amulets into a sandy minefield, is recreated in a History's Lessons display. A model desert with deep sand pits sits in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by replica oil lamps. Across from it, bright light shines through thin fabric mimicking the amulet maker's tent, with framed scraps of broken thread amulets. Visitors step onto a transparent, slightly tilted floor, feeling the unease of crossing Sorrow's cursed pits. Beyond artifacts, snake amulets inspire contemporary artists. They use synthetic leather with scale patterns for clothing and accessories in runway shows like Elegance of the Desert. These collections channel West African culture while urging global fashion enthusiasts to care about environmental preservation and indigenous identity. In education, history and anthropology texts describe the snake amulet as a gift of knowledge, merging folk science with community spirit. Students study the pharmacology of bone powder, the snake skin's antibacterial properties, and its ritual significance alongside oral histories. The lesson transcends ceremony, exemplifying interdisciplinary learning, culture, chemistry, medicine, and art. Digitally, YouTube channels and podcasts on world cultures dedicate series to the snake amulet. Footage of artisans stitching amulets, desert landscapes, and elder interviews immerses viewers in the mystical ritual. These programs educate while evoking calm through sounds of desert winds, knives scraping snakeskin, and slow, soothing narration. In architecture, snake-scale motifs inspire museum and cultural center facades. Metal panels create undulating patterns that play with light and shadow, mimicking scales under harsh sunlight. At night, lit facades seem to ripple, recalling the sleep ritual's lulling motion. The amulet's heritage also fuels experiential tourism. Snake-scale journey desert tours let visitors learn amulet crafting, join moonlit stitching rituals, and sleep in straw tents wearing traditional amulets. At dawn, they savor millet porridge breakfasts with amulet circle hearth rituals, fully immersing in ancient life. These activities not only sustain Malian communities, but affirm the heritage's enduring value. When tourists buy an amulet souvenir, they purchase a story, a lesson in resilience, creativity, and nature's respect. The snake amulet thus becomes a cultural ambassador, carrying the desert's message worldwide. Today, online communities trade snake amulet insights. Members share photos of new amulets, care tips, dream stories, and basic blessing rituals. This network echoes the past. Faith lives not just in markets or festivals, but in every step, every personal tale, weaving a vast cultural tapestry. Ultimately, the snake amulet's legacy proves how Malian ancestors overcame fear, tamed danger, and built a tight-knit community. Whether gazing at an amulet in a museum or around a friend's neck from the desert, remember its long journey, from sandy tents to Niger's markets, European galleries, and modern cities. Each step reaffirms and amplifies its value. The snake amulet isn't a static relic, but a living history lesson. Even the most fearsome foe, the snake god, can become a guardian if we wield the right shield with respect. Each amulet's vitality testifies to humanity's boundless faith and ceaseless creativity. And so, we've journeyed through the wondrous tale of the desert snake amulet, a testament to faith and ingenuity in history. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and let me know where you're watching from. Tonight, let the mystical desert breeze lull you into a deeply peaceful sleep. Good night, my friend.